Hello and welcome to the Flipped Collaborate for EDU 10,004 Theories of Teaching and Learning. So this is the recorded session that I'm hoping will give you a little bit more clarity and a little bit more confidence as you approach your first assessment with us. So I thought I'd walk you through some of the different elements and some of the different areas that you're going to search through as you start to understand and tackle our first assignment. So you have a dashboard that will look a little bit like this, and I'm going to pop straight into our unit here. So you should already be familiar with this. So we've got our modules and our discussions that you'll be starting to work through with our learning materials and weekly readings. And I'm going to head straight down to assignments here, so we can find the information that we need. Okay, here we go. So in EDU 10,004, we've got 3 assignments. We've got number 1, which is a presentation, story of learning. Number 2, we have an assignment, which is our essay on learning modes. And our third one is our case study. So let's take a little look at assignment 1 at the moment together. Okay, for our first assignment, we have a word limit of 500 words. Oh, let's scroll back up to the top so we can see. Here we go. We have a word limit of 500 words, plus or minus 10%. So we need to be 10% above and below our 500 word limit. We have a lovely gentle weighting of 20% to start off. And our due date isn't till week 4. So we've got a nice amount of time, and we've got some good readings that will be useful to us as we work towards our first assignment. Okay, it says here, after you've read this information, head over to our assignment 1 Q&A discussion board to ask any questions. So when you click on that link there, it will take you to your learning group with your ELA, and that's a great place to share any questions or queries that you have with your team. Okay, let's take a look at our assignment overview together. Let's read this. The purpose of this assignment is to reflect on who you are as a learner and how you think about life experiences and people in your life, how they have supported or not supported the teaching and learning process for you. This is how theories of learning developed when theorists wondered about the complex ways that learning takes place. This assignment requires you to create a presentation that tells a story about your learning and makes some of these processes of learning visible. You can write and present this story in interesting and creative ways by using photographs, graphics or images, such as one might use when creating a picture book. However, it's important to note that this is not a story written for children, but of course it could be about a child or how children learn. This presentation can use a story that is either real or imagined. This is a different sort of assignment that you might not be familiar with. So it's not a report, it's not an essay, it's a little bit different. We're asking you to tell a story that reflects your experience with learning, formal or informal, the learning or experience of someone you know. You might make it up, so it might be a completely fictitious story, as long as it meets our key assignment criteria. It means that you have many options. So some people suit the more creative side and like to have some flexibility. Other people like to have a little bit more structure. In that case, you'll be looking through our exemplars and you might feel a little bit more confident looking at their structures, and you can follow along there. And you can write the assignment from the perspective of the learner, teacher, or both, or from a third party such as a narrator or an imagined character. So we're asking for your views and not those of others. However, you are making links to the learning materials. So a key part of this assignment is that the processes of learning are made visible and that you identify how complex these processes are. So this will really be key in your assignment. and be sure to articulate clearly who and what informs your views. So these will include the people around you, the people you know in your family, the literature from our unit readings, learning materials, and your life experiences in formal and informal education settings. And this assignment supports our learning outcomes 1 and 4. So let's keep going here. Our assignment details. We've got some steps here that will help us as we create it. So this is an individual assignment, and we're asking you to submit one single document. So you might use Word or PowerPoint to complete your assignment. We do ask you that you convert your file to a PDF, just so it's not too large for our Canvas system, because we'd like it to be under 50 meg. And I've got some information about how you can do that in our Padlet. So let's look at the presentation. We're asking you, number 1, to create a presentation. So you are not actually presenting it, but you'll be creating this document for submission. Number 2, we're asking you to include a visual metaphor, which we covered in week 1. So your discussions with your learning group will be really useful there. So you can tell us, so we've got the word drawing here. I'm going to replace that with the word image, because you don't have to create a drawing. You could source an image. So what does your image say about your beliefs about the learning processes? This is talking about your visual metaphor. Where do these ideas come from? Perhaps have your ideas changed since you created your visual metaphor, or you found your visual metaphor, and why? Point 3, develop a story that depicts your understanding and experience of learning and what is meant by learning theories. So you don't actually need to include a particular learning theory. You can if you choose, but we really want you to show that you have an understanding of what they are and their purpose in learning and how they link to the practice of teaching. This will make more sense when we look through the exemplars. So make sure your story highlights the links between learning and experience and explains and illustrates how learning is a complex process. Illustrate with professional images and graphic features. We're going to ask you to use APA referencing. You'll be writing in first person when you're speaking about your own ideas, values, and experiences. And we'd like a reference list with a minimum of 6 references in addition to any images that you use. We recommend that you rely heavily on our weeks 1 to 4 as you begin our assignment in our main text, and chapter 3 will be very useful to you. Okay, let's have a quick look at our assignment criteria. So our assignment criteria, we have 4 here. I'm going to talk quickly through them. So presentation skills, number 1, effective presentation skills that clearly articulate your ideas through a story about learning. So for a pass, we're looking for an acceptable standard of presentation with communication of ideas about learning. You'll use effective use of photographs, graphics, or images to illustrate your story. And then you'll notice that our descriptors move up in complexity across the gradings. Criteria 2, capacity to identify and express personal experiences of learning and how this relates to the practice of teaching. So again, for a pass, we're looking for the story and presentation clearly expresses understandings of learning, and some links are made to teaching practice. You'll notice in the credit descriptor here, we've got our mention of our learning metaphor, and again we've got it here with greater sophistication, linking in our high distinction here. So make sure you've got your learning metaphor to meet the credit criteria there. Number 3, recognition and description of the complexities of learning and learning theories. So for a pass, some connections are described between learning and practice. You'll see you're moving up to insightful and increasingly complex insights. for the high distinction. And finally, our academic skills, English expression, writing, APA and reference. And we're also asking you to use your relevant readings and resources here. So here we've got for our pass, limited reference to relevant readings and or resources, APA and writing referencing may need improvement. We do acknowledge that referencing and citation is tricky. It's quite a complex task. Please do have a look at our links and our guides and give yourself some time. We know that this is a skill that you'll improve with as you move through your units. Give it a really good solid go and we'll be happy with that. So we understand that not everything can be perfect first time round. Okay, so there we have our criteria. I'm going to take us straight over to our student Padlet. So I've created a Padlet that's absolutely chock full of information for you as you approach your assignment. So you'll notice that we've got columns moving along the top here, and I've tried to include as much information as possible here. So we're just going to quickly start at the top. So what is a flipped collaborate? You're actually watching the flipped collaborate right now. So the concept is that you upskill yourself and learn about a concept, and then when we join out each other and we have our time for brainstorming, so we want to make the best use of our time. So that's our flipped teaching model. So first learning about the assignment and then joining in together. So let's talk about the support that we're going to give you. So you're listening to the flipped collaborate right now. We're going to have in week 2 a live brainstorming session. So come along, and this is an hour session. It will be recorded if you're unable to attend, and it will give you lots of opportunities to jump in and do some brainstorming with our ELAs. And then just before our assignment's due, just a few days beforehand, there's a last minute check-in. There'll be an open mic. You can turn up and ask any specific questions you have just before submission. So let's have a look here. So I've just put the links in here. So we're going to start off with our brainstorm session, and you can see there's a link there and you can click straight on that and it will take us to our collaborate session. You can see that it's not going to start until the 19th, but you can click on those, and then there's our session, our last minute check-in session just before submission in week 3. Okay, over here we have lots and lots and lots of frequently asked questions. How do I cite an image? How do I reference an image? Does it have to be true? How do I format my work? How do I create a PDF? So you can see lots and lots of questions there. We've tried to give you anything that might pop up for you. Do I need to name a theory or a theorist? Lots of information there. Please have a look through, and if there's anything that isn't covered here, make sure you share it with your ELA. Let's just pop over here because we've included a couple of exemplars. So this might help you feel a little bit more confident when you first start working on your assignment. So have a look through here. So this obviously is a piece of work that is not to be copied, but it might make you a little bit more confident as you come up with your own ideas. So you can see we've got this student's talking about the support. We've already had the story, talking about teaching and learning, challenges. You can see we've got citations throughout, some lovely images. We've got our visual metaphor is included there, and it's even labelled so it's easy for the ELA to see that it's been included. Talking about active learning and some references there. So that's one exemplar, and we've got another one here. So you can have a look through there. We've got some slides here that can help you understand what the task is, how to break it down, how to begin. Over here, if you come across any problems, these are all of the links in the student portal that will help you, how to access the library, how to reference, how to find valuable resources. And then over here is in case you have any issues. So pop in there if you need any extensions or anything like that, because we